We're now going to move into how we attach, how we string together the different behaviors, the different states, and how we trigger those events from one to the next to create a very cohesive, thoughtful type of character. So for us, we're going to start with an idle position. So we're going to go ahead and start in idle. So we'll select on the edit idle. We'll make sure that our player tag is set to our player. Our initial state is going to be our idle state. And as we move down, we'll look at what event is going to trigger this into something else. So for our character, we're going to have him looking for something within a distance, something that's close to him. So we'll say within a distance, what do we want to do? So let's see. Let's just sort of move this range out a little bit. Let's zoom in so we can get to it. There we go. Let's say if it's within this distance of here, we want to do what? So we can look in there and say, well, if it's within about a 6 unit distance, let's follow the player. So we're going to have it where it actually starts to follow that character. We say, okay. Now, what this does is for this state, whenever it's in this state, it's going to be looking for that distance to follow. We'll lower that one out. And generally what you can do is once you're setting it to go somewhere else, go ahead and follow that logic all the way through. So we're going to the follow state. So I'm going to move it on to the follow state, and I say, okay. So he's going to follow, adjust the properties in here that I want to match what I need. And then what's going to trigger this object out of this state? So we could say, well, if something is beyond a distance, then perhaps it's going to trigger it going out of that state. So let's say that he is farther than, we can click on it, there we go. Let's say he's farther than about a 12 range. Well, then the character is simply going to just return back to an idle. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that out and see what we've got. We've got a nice little loop right there. Okay, so our character isn't in there yet. If we move over, there we go. He's going to be following us. Now, if we decide, oh, quick, run to outside of his range, we'll move him over here so we can get the right distance out. There we go. And our character is now idling in his position. And we have a nice little buffer in between. So it's not right at that line. There we go. And again, he's following us around. So very simply just assigning the within distance and the beyond distance to the two different states, we can get some nice interaction right off the bat. So the other thing we can look at is that while he's following him, what could we do that's a little bit different? Well, we're going beyond the distance here, we go back to an idle. Well, if we're within a distance in this state, perhaps we want to do something that we want to attack the opponent. So let's say within a distance, and what is that distance? Well, that distance could be, let's say, about 2, something kind of close to him. And if he's within that distance, we could go and say, well, let's do a melee attack. Let's attack the character. So then we can follow that one on over, because we're just following that state. We're saying, well, if we're going to the melee attack, what is the melee attack setup like? We can go back up to the melee attack, and we say, alright, so it's going to be attacking. My properties are set up and ready for it. The thing that will trigger him out of my melee attack is what? So we could say, well, let's have him simply attack for a certain amount of time. So he'll attack for, let's say, 3 seconds. Even if I leave and go beyond his distance, he's going to continue to attack. We'll give a little bit of a range plus or minus a second. And the state that he's going to change to could be the idle state. We loop it back to that, and then it's just looking for a distance for following. Okay, so let's give that a shot and see what we've got. So we'll move in. As we move in, he's going to follow us. If he gets close enough, he'll stop, he'll attack, he's going to attack for his time, and he sets back to his idle. If I go back inside, I trigger it, he's going to come back up to me, and attack me for 3 seconds. There we go. If I go beyond R10, there we go, he goes back to his idle. Nice and easy. Alright, that's going to tie off our first very simple stringing together of the states.